There's a chill that finds you now that never used to. You feel it in your hands, in the small of your back, in the floorboards under your feet before the calendar has any right to call it winter. And out in the world, a costly machine is being sold to you as the answer. A tub of ice water you climb down into on purpose. But the folks selling it have the matter turned around backward. What they're straining to bottle and charge you for was never theirs. My grandfather had it for free. My name is Noah Yoder, and I farm the same ground in Lancaster County that my grandfather cleared and my father worked before me. I am not a doctor, and I want that said plain, and said first, because nothing I tell you here is meant to treat a sickness or cure a thing. If you are under a doctor's care, or if you take medicine for your heart or your blood, that doctor comes first every time over any notion of mine. I am only a farmer who saw something and went looking for why it worked. That is the sum of my qualification, and I would not have you forget it. Here is what set me looking. My grandson held up his telephone the other week and showed me a video of a young fellow lowering himself into a barrel of ice water, shivering and grinning, calling it the newest way to fight the cold and get himself healthy. They call it a cold plunge, an ice bath, and it is being sold hard as a fix for tired blood and soft middles and near about every ache a body carries into old age. My grandson wanted to know if the old people used to do such a thing, since we are supposed to be the folks who live the natural way. I had to laugh, kindly. Then I got to thinking, and the more I thought, the more there was to say. Now, we Amish do not own cold plunges. We never have. There is no barrel of ice water on this farm, and there never was on my grandfather's before me. What we have is something a good deal plainer, and it comes to this. We live alongside ordinary cold instead of sealing ourselves inside one warm temperature from the moment we wake until we lie back down. That is all the difference there is. And once you see it, that costly trend starts to look like a man paying a great deal of money to buy back the very thing he threw away with both hands. So here is what that fellow in the video paid, so you can hold the price up against a wool sweater and see it clear. A tub built for cold plunging and nothing else runs from around $3,000 on the low end to $15,000 and up. The handsome ones, the built-in kind with their chillers and their filters, sit between $5,000 and $10,000, and a few of them climb past $25,000 before you have poured in a single drop of water. Then you pay a man to come install it. Then you pay every month after that to keep the water cold, somewhere between $25 and $60 month upon month upon month to chill a tub of water sitting in the corner of your own already warm house. And what do they promise you for all that money? They promise the cold will burn the fat right off your frame. They swear it will harden you against every sickness that comes around each winter. And they promise you fresh energy in the mornings and more years tacked on to the end of your life. They stack those promises up good and high because the tub is dear, and the promises have to be dearer still to make the price feel like a fair trade. Set that whole pile against what warms this house. One wood stove, a wool sweater Ruth knit for me by lamplight, a pair of thick socks, and a heavy quilt. That is the contest we are weighing today. A tub that costs more than a good horse set against a sweater and a stove, and I mean to walk you through which one the science truly stands behind. To make sense of any of it, you first have to understand one thing about your own body, and it is a truly wonderful thing. You carry a little furnace around inside you. The doctors have a name for it, brown adipose tissue, or brown fat for short, and I will use that fancy name the one time and afterwards speak of it the way a farmer would speak of a stove. It is a small store of a special kind of fat, tucked up mostly around your neck and between your shoulders, and it holds only one job in all the world. Its job is to throw off heat the moment your body meets the cold. Now here is a piece most folks never heard. Every baby is born fairly loaded with this brown fat, Because a newborn cannot shiver worth a lick and has to have some other way to keep warm in a cold world. We hold on to a store of it for the rest of our days, though it dozes off if it is never called upon. And there is the key. Your furnace warms you without a single shiver. Shivering is the body's loud, clumsy way of making heat, all chattering teeth and shaking hands. The furnace is the quiet way, the steady way, and it is the one you can train back into shape. Think of the coal stove down in an Amish cellar. Last thing before bed, you bank it. You damp it down low so it holds a small, patient fire all through the dark and stands ready to flare up warm come the morning. Your brown fat is much the same creature. It is a fire kept banked inside you, waiting on the cold to come and call it up to work. And when a body meets a little cold on a regular basis, that banked fire wakes and grows willing. The body gets handier at throwing off its own warmth from the inside. So the same cold morning that used to chase you straight to the thermostat stops feeling like such an enemy. That waking up is a real thing. Scientists have watched it happen and measured it in a laboratory. A body that meets the cold learns, over time, to answer the cold. Hold on to that because the folks selling the ice barrel know about this furnace too. It is the one true thing sitting underneath all their tall promises. The trouble is entirely in what they have gone and built on top of the true thing. So let me give you the science straight, the way I would want a good neighbor to give it to me, without any shine rubbed on it, and without a thumb pressing down on the scale. When a person lowers into cold water on purpose, something real does happen, and I will not pretend otherwise. The body sends up a rush of a chemical the doctors call norepinephrine. That is the body's own get up and go, the very thing that makes you feel awake and sharp and lifts your mood right up. In one careful study done years back, the water about as cold as a creek in early spring, that chemical climbed to several times its normal level. It stayed lifted for hours after the person had climbed out, dried off, and dressed. A second chemical of good feeling, one they called dopamine, rose right alongside it and stayed high for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours after. It is nothing like the jolt of a strong cup of coffee that spikes you and drops you flat an hour later. It is a slower, steadier lift that carries through the morning. So when that fellow hauls himself out of his barrel grinning like a fool, he is not lying to you. He does feel brighter, and there is a real reason underneath the grin. That furnace we spoke of, the brown fat, repeated cold, truly does wake it and does make a body a better maker of its own heat. That much holds up under an honest look. But now I have to turn and be the honest neighbor, because the loud claims run far out ahead of what is truly so. The rise in what your body burns is a modest one, on the order of a tenth more than usual, a small stirring of the coals, not a roaring bonfire. There is no good evidence, none worth trusting your money to, that plunging into cold water melts any real weight off a person. When researchers cooled folks down and watched them close, the body only grew hungrier and ate right back every bit it had spent making heat. The scale did not budge an ounce, and those grand promises of never taking sick again and living years longer, they are far thinner than the internet would ever have you believe. Most of the studies are small ones, a handful of people. They tend to be short, a few weeks and done. And they were run mostly on young, fit men, which is a far cry from you and me sitting here with our gray hair and our old knees. Real but modest. That is the honest size of the thing. A gentle lift, an awakened furnace, not a miracle you can buy by the gallon and pour into a tub. So if the ice barrel is not the answer, what on earth is? Let me walk you through how this farm meets the winter, because it is about the oldest answer there ever was. We keep no central heating. There is no furnace humming away out of sight in a basement, pushing one warm number into every room of the house alike. Instead, there is one good stove, wood or coal, set in the main room where the family gathers of an evening. Some of the finest such stoves in all the country are built right here in our own county, by our own neighbors' hands, Plain iron things meant to last 3 generations. The heat off that one stove rises the way heat has always wanted to rise, up through iron registers cut into the floors, warming the rooms above just enough to take the sharp edge off. The cooler air sinks back down through smaller vents to be warmed again and sent back up, around and around. And the rooms we are not using through the cold months, we close the doors on and let go cold. Why on earth burn good wood to warm an empty room? There is a second heart to the warmth, and that is the kitchen. The cook stove runs much of the day in winter for the baking and the canning and the 3 hot meals, and it throws off a steady heat that draws the family in close around it. A body learns to pull a chair up close. As a boy, I would stand square over the floor register on a cold morning, letting the heat billow up my nightshirt, and my brothers and I would squabble over the warmest spot on the entire farm, which was that one iron grate. The upstairs, where we do our sleeping, stays cool. Some nights it stays downright cold, with the frost feathering itself across the inside of the window pane in the moonlight. And we meet that cold the way people met it for 1,000 winters before the thermostat was ever dreamed up. Long underwear, good wool socks pulled up high, a stack of quilts heavy enough to hold a body down against the mattress, the plain shared warmth of another soul lying beside you. There is a reason it is wool we reach for, and not just any cloth. Wool holds on to its warmth even when it has gone a little damp with sweat or with snow, or plain cotton would leave you chilled clean to the bone. My grandmother knew that in her hands long before anybody bothered to write it down. She kept our feet in wool and our beds in wool, and she was never once wrong about the cold. And in the daytime, we are out in that same cold, doing hard work in the winter air, tending the stock and hauling the wood and shoveling out the lane. There's always a warm hearth waiting to walk back into and thaw ourselves by. Folks who study these things have said it plainly enough. The Amish grow comfortable at indoor temperatures that would send most of a modern heated household reaching for a blanket and a word of complaint. We are not tougher than anybody else. We are only used to it, because we never once stopped meeting it, winter after winter, all our lives long. And here is what I most want you to see about that cold of ours. It is gentle, a low, daily, everyday sort of cold, the ordinary cool of an old farmhouse in the nip of a morning chore. It never once becomes a shock to the body. Nobody on this place plunges into anything colder than the horse trough in July. There is no gasp, no barrel, no ice. What we live is that same waking of the furnace the scientists measured, only lived slow and lived steady as a plain way of life. And it costs us nothing at all. Not $3,000, not 30, not one single cent. Do you see the turn in it now? The very thing that Ice Barrel is built to bottle up and sell you. The brightness in the morning, the small stir in what a body burns, the inner furnace learning to make its own heat. Every last bit of it is something your own body will hand you for free. And it hands it to you the moment you stop living sealed at one flat, warm number all the day long. If the old ways ring true for you, and you would like more of them laid out in plain words, go ahead and subscribe and stay a while here with me. I share one of these every week. The traditional way of doing a thing and the reasons the old folks so often turned out to have it right. Now let me get to the part that matters the very most. The Amish never needed the tub because we never left the cold behind us in the first place. We kept one foot in it every single day of our lives, the way a body is plainly built to do. The wellness world went and took the one true thing, hiding inside our great-grandmothers' cold farmhouses, the plain fact that a body fares better when it meets a little cold, and it stripped that fact of every ounce of its gentleness. It shut the cold up inside a barrel of ice. It made the cold a violent shock instead of a passing season. Then it hung a price on the thing that would buy a good buggy and harness and it sold that cold right back to the very people who once had it for absolutely nothing. That is a clever thing to sell. It is not a wise thing to buy. And now I have to slow you way down and speak as plainly and as seriously as I know how to speak, because this next part can spare you real and lasting harm. That barrel of ice water is no gentle thing. It is dangerous, and it grows more dangerous the older a body gets, which means it is the most dangerous of all for the very folks sitting and watching me right here. When cold water hits a body all at once, the body flat panics. There comes a sudden, helpless gasp, the lungs grabbing after air whether you will it or not. The heart lurches in the chest, the blood pressure jumps up hard. All of that lands on the heart in a single cruel instant, and the water itself shows no mercy about it, for cold water pulls the heat out of a body about 25 times faster than cold air ever could. That is the very reason a cool room is a comfort, while a cold tub is a threat, even when the thermometer reads them out to be one and the same. The safety folks who pull people from cold ponds and rivers know the shape of the danger by heart. The first minute is that gasp, when a person can breathe in water and drown before they have gone under proper. Then a person has only about 10 minutes of any real use left in their arms and legs before the cold steals the strength clean out of them. And there is a cruel trick laid on top of it that catches people out. You feel your very coldest, not while you are in the water, but several minutes after you have climbed back out, when the chilled blood pooled in your arms and legs washes back in toward your heart. Folks have collapsed on the bank after they thought the worst was behind them. Now lay an older body over the top of all that. As we age, the body reads the cold poorly, so the warning does not arrive nearly as sharp as it ought to. The blood vessels turn slower and stiffer, and they do not close down against the cold the way a young man's vessels do. And once we are chilled through, we warm back up a great deal slower than we did at 20. So the danger comes on faster and quieter, and the very signs that ought to frighten a person right out of the water go unfelt until they have already turned serious. The American Heart Association put it about as plain as a thing can be put, that a person should never do a cold water plunge alone, not ever. So hear me now, and hear me good. This is no invitation. I am not telling you to fill a tub with ice and climb on in. I am telling you the flat opposite with everything I have got in me. If you carry a heart condition of any kind, a cold plunge is no wellness practice for you. The same holds if your blood pressure runs high, or you have had a heart attack, or your circulation has gone poor. It holds if you live with diabetes and the nerve or vessel troubles that so often ride along with it, or if your fingers go white and dead in the cold with that trouble the doctors name Raynaud's. For you, that barrel is a real danger to your life, and no morning brightness on this green earth is worth that kind of a gamble. The Amish way is the very reverse of that barrel in every regard. It is gentle, everyday cold, met inside a life that is warm and well-fed and full of honest, blood-pumping work, with a hot stove and a hot meal never once far from your reach. There is no shock in it anywhere to be found. And that gentleness, that slow and daily quality, is the reason it is safe for old bones when the barrel is not. Let me set the plain accounting in front of you now, both columns of it, and let you weigh the thing yourself, the way you would weigh anything that ever mattered to you. On the one side, the science holds up, but it is a small and mixed matter, a little brightness of a morning, a small stir in the body's own furnace. It is no cure for anything under the sun, and it will not take the weight off your frame, no matter what the fellow in the video claims. On the other side sits the dangerous way of chasing after it, the plunge itself, which can hurt an old body badly and can hurt it quick. That is the honest reckoning, laid bare on the table. But there is a gentle middle ground in all this, and it is right where the old folks always lived, and you can go and live there too without spending a dollar or risking a single thing. The first piece is the simplest one there is. Stop sealing yourself up inside one hot number around the clock, day and night without a break. Let the house run cool while you are up and dressed and moving about your day so your body meets a little ordinary cold the way it was made to meet it. Not cold enough to set you shivering and miserable, only cool enough that your body remembers it owns a furnace and quits letting the thing sleep the winter clean through. Keep your feet warm and good socks. Keep a little movement in your day. Drink your water and let the air around you be honest and cool. For your sleeping now, a cool room helps most grown folks rest easier, somewhere around 65 degrees for the general run of people. But for those of us who are older, and this part is well worth the knowing, the careful studies point a touch warmer for us, up into the high 60s and even the mid-70s for a good many. As the years pile on, the body holds its own warmth less well through the night. So the rules that suit a young person can leave an old one restless and achy. So make your bedroom cool, but never cold, and keep good blankets close at hand, and stay well clear of anywhere near shivering. Cool and covered, that is the rule of it. And you let your own comfort be the final judge of the number. And a few plain old tricks let you keep a house cool without ever going truly cold. Keep a shawl or a heavy sweater draped over the back of every chair you favor, so warmth is always within arm's reach. Warm your bed before you climb into it, the way the old folks did, with a heated stone or a jug of hot water wrapped in flannel and set down at the foot of the quilt. And keep a little work in your hands through the day, for a body in motion makes its own heat far better than a body sunk down in a chair. And if you want the one small thing worth trying, the free one, here it is, plain as I can give it. In the morning, dressed good and warm against it, step out your own door into the cool air for 2 or 3 minutes and let the morning meet your face. That is all it is. A brief, gentle handshake with the cold, one that you hold complete control over from start to finish, one that never once shocks the heart. It is a greeting and nothing more, and you can end it the very second you please by turning around and stepping back inside to your hot coffee. There is your cold, met the safe and human way, the way a body was always meant to meet it. I will tell you why this speaks to us especially, we who are past 60 now. The sealed up, thermostat warmed, sit still modern day was built for nobody in particular, but it lands the hardest of all on us. Because by our age, the body's own furnace has already grown quiet on its own, banked down low from years of easy, unbroken indoor warmth. Then, on top of that, we go and spend every hour of every day at one unchanging number. So the furnace is never once called upon to do the work it was made for. The cold did not grow harder as we aged, whatever it feels like. What changed is that we quit ever meeting it right at the time of life when meeting it a little would do us the very most good. I am not asking you to suffer. Let me be as clear as spring water on that one point. I would never ask an older man or woman to sit cold and miserable for the sake of some notion off a telephone screen. None of this is about suffering the cold. It is about breaking the long habit of hiding from every last little bit of it. Ruth and I are old now, the both of us, past the years when a cold morning is nothing. Our upstairs runs cool of a winter night, and we sleep just fine up there under the quilts her mother stitched by hand a lifetime ago. In the morning, I pull on my boots and step out to the chores in the cold air, and I do my work. Then I come back into the stove and to her and to a plate of eggs, and my old blood knows just exactly what to do. It has never once in all these years been let clean off the job. That is the plain gift the modern house takes from a person without ever once asking. And it is the very thing you can turn around and hand right back to yourself for nothing. So when you see that grinning young fellow in his barrel of ice, do not envy the man. And please, please do not go and buy the thing he is selling you. The old way is not a treatment you buy and lower yourself down into. It is a life you live a few degrees cooler, under a good warm quilt, with honest work to do and a warm room to always come home to.